This is officially our last video of our short high school series for those students that are aiming for an undergraduate degree in the US. Now, up until this point, we've covered all the grades all the way from class 9 until class 12. But I know that some of you are out there that are taking a gap year. Either you didn't get into a good university, you didn't know about the deadlines, or just had a whole different personal reason altogether. Whatever it is, it's important that you take some strategic steps within your gap year to make sure you can stand out uniquely and have a strong profile when you're applying to colleges in the US. I'm going to be very honest here. Gap year students are definitely scrutinized by admission officers, which means that they will put you under a microscope and ask more questions in terms of more personal essays that you'll have to write to explain why you took a gap year. And just saying that it was a personal reason is not good enough. You need to show that you had a reason and you also did something productive in that gap year, because college admission officers know that you've completed high school, you're not going to school for majority of the day. So what exactly are you doing? If you've just taken a gap year to apply to colleges, they kind of see it as a waste of time. Now, the other thing I want to point out here is many students end up starting their first year of college in India and then think that they can just apply as a gap year student. That is not allowed. If you start your degree in another country, you are no longer considered a first-year undergraduate applicant. You can only apply as a transfer student, and you cannot hide that you just didn't go to university. That is also unethical, and you can definitely get into a lot of trouble for doing that. So we're going to talk about some things that you can do to make your year productive as a gap year student. Remember, since you're no longer in high school, a lot of the things are not going to be handed over to you. So you will need to take an additional amount of effort to figure out and make a plan, sort of like a timetable for yourself to be productive. Securing a full-time opportunity is number one on your list. Now you need to make sure that you have some place that you can spend most of the time in the day. Now this can be in different forms. The first preference that I personally have is a volunteering-based activity. So let's say you find a local school or a community near your house where you can go spend your entire day, where you're helping out, either teaching students or helping out in some other way. It can even be like a church or a temple where you're trying to, help make meals for homeless people or underprivileged people, anything. But you're spending majority of the day and you do that for maybe 4 or 6 months. That is a good use of time. The second thing can be an unpaid or paid internship. Most likely it's going to be unpaid because you are just a high school student, especially in like countries like India, and that's perfectly okay. The internship can be something related to your field that you potentially want to study. Let's say you want to do computer science engineering. You can maybe get a very basic internship at a company through like family and friends, where you're just learning some basic stuff. Maybe you're just doing very basic amount of code work for a particular team. Looks great on your resume as a gap year student. The next thing is, let's say if you're trying to go into a science-based degree like biology or pre-med, you can shadow a doctor. You can do this for 40 hours or 60 hours, which is typically considered standard in different departments, to show that you were trying to explore which career interest would be the best fit for you. Online courses are another place to effectively utilize your time, which are typically known as MOOCs, massive open online courses. Websites like Coursera, EDX have courses from well-reputed universities where you can actually learn specific fundamentals and even get certificates to prove that you did this particular course. Since you are a gap year student and you have plenty of time in your hands, it's not enough just to do the course and get the certificate. After doing that, maybe try to work on a self-started independent project. This project can be like your own personal passion/research project, and you're building a prototype. It can be a software prototype, a hardware prototype. A lot of stuff is available on like YouTube tutorials that you can figure out to do something productive. The next thing is addressing why you took a gap year in the first place. Now you will explicitly be asked to answer this question, and this should typically be a mixture of two parts. The first response should be your genuine reason of why you decided to take a gap year. This can be maybe a personal reason, finances weren't good for the family, whatever the actual reason is. And the second part of this response should be what you actually did productively in your gap year. Now, I know that the space that they provide may not be enough to write all of these details. So maybe the second part of this answer as to what you did productively in your gap year can be added to the additional information section, where they give you like 700 words, which is more than one page to write about anything else that may have been missed in your application. So that's all that I had for like the strategies while applying as a gap year student. The last thing I want to leave you guys with is that do not apply for the spring intake. I know that many consultancies and even just dates in general seem very convenient, that you've missed deadlines, you can just apply for the spring intake, but you get in a lot of trouble. There are very few scholarships available. Not a lot of colleges actually offer the spring intake. In fact, none of the 8 Ivy Leagues offer spring intake. Top 20 colleges even do not. And lastly, you may face issues with your visa if you are going for a spring intake. So it's better to wait until next fall to make sure you're doing the whole process right and you're maximizing your chances of getting into a good university, good scholarship, and taking the right path. Now, if you guys are watching till this point, I have a fun little question for you, which is, since you are watching this as a gap year student, why are you a gap year student? Be truthful, okay? Put it in the comments below. Did you miss the deadline? Like, I know you missed the deadline. I told you guys so many times you have to apply in the beginning of class 12 and you waited till the end, right? Put that in the comments below. Like the video if you're watching till this point. Subscribe to the channel and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.